Happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the black kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!
Just outside the city, the floodwaters are rising.
These two reporters have a long night ahead of them, and bad coughs. The network man is taking Robitussin DM, while the local guy has discovered Vicks 44. Compare them. Vicks 44 feels more soothing and works longer between doses, up to 8 hours, while Robitussin should be taken every 4. So guess who's getting more cough medicine? And hours later, who's getting the story?
Folks, we're safe. It's going to be a great day.
8-hour Vicks 44. Get the most from just one dose.
Man, I don't know if we've gone over this on the show before, and I kind of know what the answer is going to be. Were you more of a Sega Genesis or a Super Nintendo kid?
Well, what I got first, Steve, was a Sega Genesis. I had Nintendo whenever the new 16-bit games came out. I got Genesis first because I was super into Sonic the Hedgehog. So day one, I think as a gift for us moving, my birthday that I had, the first birthday I had in Ohio, Sega Genesis with Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Jurassic Park, the video game. Loved it, had it for a while, but even though it was my first, I was a Nintendo boy. I moved over to Super Nintendo. They had too many good games. Turtles in Time. You wanted Mario Brothers at that time. You know, I love Zelda. You can't play that on Genesis. So eventually, I had to go back to Nintendo. And if you just gun to my head, give me that Nintendo.
Sega had exclusive games too. Do you remember Pit Fighter?
Hell yeah, that was a great arcade game too. That was one of those like first ones where they had like photorealistic like people, I guess, in it. Wasn't that the one?
Somewhat, yeah. I mean, it was cutting edge for its time. Like the graphics, the thing with Sega in general, it's kind of like it's not Nintendo.
Yeah. Also, I feel like sometimes because maybe I'm fucked up about this, but I think Nintendo for a time they kind of like censored their games a little bit. I think Mortal Kombat, it didn't actually show blood. It was like sand coming off the dudes, or maybe it was like a setting you could put on. But Genesis had more adult games. I remember like remember Sega CD when that came out?
I remember Sega CD. Yeah.
One of the first games that came out with that was kind of like this tawdry, like adult. I think it was called like Night Stalker or something, but it had the chick from the Gary Coleman show. It had her, like the girl from that.
The Gary Cole. Oh,
Can't remember.
Yeah.
She was
Dana
like
Plato.
Yeah, she had some like weird. I think she's rest in peace. But
Yeah.
she had some. She was like kind of getting into some adult shit, and this wasn't like you didn't see like boobies, but there was just like girls in like panties and stuff in it. You know, it was like an adult game.
Totally remember that.
Also, Toe Jam and Earl. Sorry, that was a great Sega game.
That was Sega.
That was so good.
And so was Streets of Rage. I don't think that was Nintendo.
Yeah, but I could get for any Streets of Rage, I can play like Battletoads or something. You know, there's games like that are just like scrolling fight games. So you know, we can go tit for tat.
I wasn't fucking with Streets of Rage.
Battletoads, Steve.
Battletoads.
Battletoads
yes.
Double Dragon on top of that, and then just throw Turtles in Time on top because it's basically the same thing. You know. But Sega did have some good ones like that. They had that game Golden Axe too. That was like one of the first
Golden
games.
Axe?
That was a dope game.
I feel like that was a Nick Arcade game too at one point.
Oh, for sure.
No.
Remember
Yeah.
Altered Beast too, where you turned.
Oh hell yeah!
It was like Manimal, the video game.
I fucks with some Altered Beast and Kid Chameleon.
That one I do not remember. Kid Chameleon. I don't remember that.
Yeah, you're a kid that can turn into a bunch of different things.
No, shocking. Remember Bonk? It was just a dude with a giant head. It was like me, but it was like a caveman
That's,
boy.
that was Turbo Graphics, or was it both that and Sega?
I think I was on Sega, if I'm not mistaken. I think I remember because also Sega had the awesome boxes when they first came out. They had these like just like it's almost like a library thing, you
Yeah.
know? Really cool shit. Both of them were type though. We lived. I mean, they perfected video games. I think now they're just crazy too. They're cool, but we lived in a amazing time for video games. All the hitters.
90s, man, where all the ideas were being cultivated.
If you ever tried one of those clear antiperspirants, you know there's something missing. It's missing from all the leading clears. It's strength. But now the strongest dryness ingredients come in a form that works invisibly. New Secret Sheer Dry. It glides on sheer, but keeps me drier than the leading clear. For sheer protection, give me strength. Give me New Secret Sheer Dry. Strong enough for a man, but it's clearly for you.
Well, hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Mad G with Happened in the 90s, the show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your magic school bus and your incubus, because we're brothers, we're happy and we're singing and we're colored. Da-na-na-na. Give me a high five. Well, today, my friend, we're talking about all things January 11th in the 90s. Starting off in 1991, Lionheart premieres. An ex-French soldier begins participating in underground street fights in order to make money for his brother's family. Directed by Sheldon Lettich, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme, Harrison Page, Deborah Renard, Lisa Pelican, Brian Thompson, Billy Blanks, Ashley Johnson.
That's why this movie's famous. Billy Blanks is in it, Steve. Not just, we don't get just the muscles from Brussels. We get Tybo himself.
The Tybo Pro.
I mean, this is just a quality Jean-Claude kicking ass movie, Steve. They get right to
Totally.
it, you know?
Yeah. And as always, Jean-Claude is with the shits. And after watching this movie, man, you know, it's pretty much sealed. It's cemented that Arnold, he's the GOAT. Man, Jean-Claude might be my number two. He might have to be, man. I just, you know, I didn't live through the Bruce Lee era. You know, to me, I don't think he made enough. He was exactly. A badass. He
too short.
He did his thing. Yeah, it's like Notorious B.I.G. 2 albums in your lifetime. That kind of like makes you fall in the rankings. Jean-Claude, man, this is one of my favorite. You know,
I mean, I gotta agree, dude. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, the shit was that hot, man. And like Street Fighter, for what it's worth, he did his thing in that.
I mean, I get why that movie's, you know, shitty. We grew up and like it was marketed to us, and I will always have like a weird place in my heart for it. Is it a quality movie? Not necessarily, but he kills it. You know, he's not the reason it sucks. I wouldn't say he was the best guy to put like for the part, given it's an American like, you know, dude, and he just can't pull off that accent. But you know, he's kicking ass, Steve.
I blame Balrog's fade. That haircut that they gave Balrog. Yeah.
Yeah, and just having Joanna Man as DJ in that, just throwing out weird stereotypical Jamaican like one line, like, how many jobs you got? Tree. He's just doing like shit from In Living Color. Yeah, it wasn't good. But there was a lot of good shit to talk about in that. But back to Lionheart and back to Jean-Claude. This is like when they had him perfected. This is the best you're gonna get. You know, this Hard Target, I think, is one of those movies. Double Impact, those ones where they were getting them before pre-Time Cop. Jean-Claude, Steve. Universal Soldier, if you remember that one as well.
I totally do, and a lot of people in the fan base consider this to be his best film, man.
I like this one because it's simple. They don't try to like mess with the story too much. Some guy gets killed in this weird like underground fight to the death ring that's going on with these rich people. The rich people, there's like a lady, I believe, and this demonic looking dude that we were talking about before the show started. There was always like an X-Files character or somebody that was like a heavy in a movie. Um,
Brian
and
Thompson. Yeah.
he's fucking crazy looking. Look, and, look up demonic looking dude. He'll show up,
It's like his face is boiling.
So,
But
that's perfect.
yeah,
That's perfect. That's exactly what happened to him.
like Jean-Claude in true hero form, man. He goes AWOL from the French military, comes overseas, comes to the States because he finds out that his brother is dying. And his family, his brother's family, is in a lot of debt. They can't pay these bills. And the brother eventually dies, leaving the wife and the child. And the child is played by Ashley Johnson, who is the little brother, little sister in Growing Pains. She was like that new addition halfway through the series with the little curly hair.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
yeah. She
Damn.
plays Jean-Claude's niece in this, man. And he makes his money kicking ass, which is what he's good at. And this movie reminded me of that game, Pit Fighter.
It was like, and he kept like fighting in these like more exotic looking like fights. The scenery would change.
Yeah.
It was like very mortal, like the levels in Mortal Kombat and stuff, And he has like how Rocky had like his black trainer, that bald dude who was like super intense. There's like that in this where Lionheart or whatever his name is has like this dude who's like ferries him into this underground fighting ring basically. And I remember that guy making me laugh a lot too. He's very intense.
Yeah, he is a hustler. He met him in the game, and he basically took him on as his manager of sorts. He's kind of like that guy from Rocky, a cross between that and I don't know, probably Mickey too.
Yeah, but he's intense. At one point he's just like King of the Jungle. He gets into it, Steve. But Jean-Claude gets it in the end. And I'm with you. I like Stallone over him still just because of like Cobra. When you go back into the 80s and stuff, you can't discount that, but he's up there. And because of like the 90s especially, he is a king of the 90s, Steve. He'll spin kick you, and he'll do a nice dance too. That kickboxer shit.
It also in 91, Not Without My Daughter premieres in theaters. An American woman trapped in Islamic Iran by her brutal husband must find a way to escape with her daughter. Directed by Brian Gilbert, starring Sally Field, Alfred Molina, Sheila Rosenthal, and Roshan Seth.
Based on a true story.
It is.
Yep. This movie's crazy. And it makes me scared of Alfred Molina because he's intense in this.
Yeah, and it makes me want to put hands on Alfred Molina because he played this role so well. He played it so well, actually, that people came up to him and punched him in the face in real life because he owned that role. Because, dude, how dare you do Forrest Gump's mama like this? This is the Flying Nun. Come on now.
Sweet old Sally Field. I mean, basically what happens in this is he's from Iran. And he's married to Sally Field, and in the beginning of this, sweet guy, nice guy, got a daughter. He's like, "Hey, I want to take you over to Iran, take you over and see where I'm from." They get over there, and he's like, "We're not going back. You're living here now. Put on all the here's this shit." And he starts beating on her. I mean, it gets crazy. She's trying to escape, Iran. There's no way to really do that. And Molina's there. And imparting Sharia law on this bitch, just fucking slapping her around, telling her not to talk to dudes and stuff. It's crazy.
It really gives you insight on their culture out there, man. It's like I feel bad for the women out there. I just she ends up like befriending a fellow American woman, and she was kind of in the same situation, but because of their laws and just the misogyny out there, they're protected by that stuff. Like, the Alfred Molina beat Sally Field in front of his family, and the women in the family are like, oh yeah, how dare her? How dare her?
Yeah.
Yeah, she was asking for it.
And she's like telling him, I think she goes to like the authorities, or maybe it's like the embassy, I think, at some point. And they're like, well, you're basically his property here. It's like some shit like that, and I don't know how accurate it is, but in this movie, it's crazy because she just went over on vacation. It's like, oh, come over and see mom and dad. Let me let you meet the family, and it's all gravy when she gets over, and they're like welcoming and stuff. And then it's like fucking day 10. He's like, get in here and fucking shut the fuck up.
So yeah, Alfred Molina is on site, motherfucker.
Damn, dude. I didn't know he was getting popped in the street. He killed it in this movie. It does piss you the fuck off because he is mean as fuck.
Infuriation. But also in 91, Ski School premieres. It's preps versus party animals when rival ski schools compete. With their reputation and jobs at stake, the rabble-rousers of Section 8 hit the slopes. Directed by Damian Lee, starring Dean Cameron, Tom Bresnahan, Stuart Fratkin, Darrell. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Never heard of these people and will never again. But
well, one will pop up on an episode of It's Always Sunny where I think that they basically just spoofed this whole movie.
They did. Yeah. And it's got a cult following, which is why it would be spoofed in It's Always Sunny, man. You get your fair share of titties. And, what I also like, it features some songs from a band named Lock Up. And that band Lock Up features a young guitarist by the name of Tommy Morella, one of the baddest fucking fretmen of all time. Yes. This
no.
That was his original group, Lock Up. This predates Rage Against the Machine, obviously, but yeah.
Ski School, dude. It couldn't get more USA Up All Night, Steve. This is what it was made for. The trailer you watch for this is just women about to take their top off about 3/4 of the trailer, and a lot of like the main character that's like the scruffy like slope dog. He's like, take your tops off. A lot of that shit, dude. I love it.
I'm here for it, and they do it. It's gratuitous, Matthew.
They do it. Hell yeah, of course they do, dude. It's ski fucking school. Of course they're gonna do that shit.
And I love the fashion choices. It's very 90s chic of these women. Nothing underneath those winter jackets, but hey, we're here for that too.
Dude, when you're on the slope, Steve, you don't know what's gonna happen. You got to be ready for anything. Nice dicking,
skiing,
go snowboard, take it off, get right to it.
Snow bunny.
I just didn't realize that the guy in It's Always Sunny, like the guy that they meet on the slopes, is the dude from this movie. It's that dude.
What else is he doing?
Saying the same exact and that makes that episode so much better because it's like he's been there that long that he's just fucked up as hell, dude. I love that.
But also in 91, Warlock, more like Borlock, premieres. A 17th century witch hunter follows an evil being into the 20th century, where a young woman assists him into the capture of the wicked entity. Directed by Steve Miner, starring Julian Sands, Laurie Singer, and Richard E. Grant.
And I'm assuming Julian Sands is the aforementioned Warlock, correct?
He is the Warlock.
Yeah.
And throughout this movie, man, I was losing interest less and less, and to the point where I was starting to root for Julian Sands. Do more wicked shit, and plus he looked cooler. He looked cooler than the protagonist. He looked like
son, Steve. Of course, he's fucking looks cool, but he looks like he has a lot of roofies, also. Like when you get a closer look, right there, he looks fine. It's like, is that Johnny Cash's fucking manager or what? What's going on here? But then he starts. That looks cool though. Some of the magic they pull off, it looks cool. But this is a dud of a movie. But they made I think multiples of Warlock.
They made multiple. Like, where did y'all get the money for this? Because this one didn't even break budget. Like, you usually make a sequel when it's successful and it makes more than the budget. Like, they lost money on this, but it had a cult following I don't know any of those people part of that cult following, but yeah. R.I.P.
Wow.
Julian Sands. He's not with us anymore, by the way.
I think they made multiple because he's probably is cool. He looks cool in a
He
weird
looks
like
good.
he looks like a scumbag cool dude that would be he's like a charming dude, you know? Maybe he'll take your wife. Maybe he'll enslave humanity as a warlock. I don't know, but looks damn good in a black button-down shirts, dude.
Cast a spell on one of my exes. I'd appreciate that. But in 1993, January 11th, Monday Night Raw premieres on USA. Just 1 week after Primetime Wrestling aired its final episode. You know, that Vince, he doesn't skip a beat.
We can take a week off. Get out there.
I love it though. What 93?
93.
Still going strong, correct? I mean, this is still a fucking thing. It ain't stopped.
31 seasons. As of today, 1,597 episodes, the longest running weekly show in TV history. Did you know that? Well, let me ask you this. Do you know what the first match was ever in Monday Night Raw?
93. 93 Monday Night Raw. Who was a tinier dude? Who was a jobber? Barbarian?
No, smaller than that.
Okay.
Way smaller.
Superfly Jimmy Snuka?
Skin tone wise, you're getting there.
Okay. Just give me who was it? I was trying, but I got to go back.
It's the Birdman.
What?
Coco Beware.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Coco Beware versus Yokozuna. And of course, it was a squash. Yokozuna flatlined him, gave him the bonsai drop. And I think that match only lasted like no more than 5 minutes. But hey, he has that honor of saying I was in the very first match of Monday Night Raw.
I love that. One of the most vibrant wrestlers of all time. And also probably the budget to have all those birds fucking... He was like Jake the Snake, where he was like getting birds in the town, right, Steve?
I don't know about him and Frankie.
Frank?
He might have taken, yeah, that was the name of Frank, of the bird, the cacao.
Okay.
Yeah, I know Jake, he had to swap snakes from time to time, but I don't know. Birds, do they live longer lives?
They live long lives. But I don't think you should be traveling. Like, I don't know if you can. Well, fuck it. Coco Beware. Look at him. Number 1 on that list. I love that.
And it also features Steiner Brothers versus the Executioners, Shawn Michaels versus Max Moon. And the main event in the first Monday Night Raw was The Undertaker versus Damien Demento. That's a name from the past.
Damien Demento. Whoa.
Yeah. And, this setup, it just takes you back, man, because it was like this for years. It was like in a ballroom. They kind of went ECW with it for like the first 2 years before they hit the road and they started traveling. And I think WCW, they had something to do with that possibly. But doing the commentary in this first Monday Night Raw was Macho Man, Vince McMahon, and a comedian named Rob Bartlett, who I've totally forgot. He was a part of Don Imus. He was a contributor to that radio show. And, if you go to his wiki, he's like apparently a known comedian. Like he's rubbed elbows with the guys that we know and are fans of.
Oh, damn. Weird combo there. And also Macho Man. That's intense.
Yeah.
You could throw him in anything.
Macho, what do you think of Damien Demento? Fucking,
who is this guy?
I guess Rob Bartlett, his like purpose was to be like the Bobby Heenan guy, throwing in wisecracks from here and there, because Yokozuna comes out, he's like, he's got an ass like an amphitheater. And Vince McMahon says, here on Raw, it's totally uncooked.
When did they go to like Lawler and JR?
That didn't come about until I want to say mid to late 90s, man.
Okay.
You know,
How
because
long did they rock with
JR,
this one? Like, what was the transition? Who was next?
they did a couple of transitions, obviously throughout the show, but like Gorilla would eventually come back. I think Heenan might come back for a episode or two. And in this one, he's trying to get into the building. So they're letting him know his services are no longer needed. So at one point, he dresses in drag to try to get in the building. And they're like, dude, Sean Mooney's like outside, like, dude, it's Heenan. Like, dude, what are you doing? They don't want you here. I just remember the last time we saw Heenan in WWF was when he got thrown out by Gorilla Monsoon on Monday Night Raw. It wasn't this one, obviously, but it was around this time in '93. You know, that was like his last hurrah before he went to WCW.
I
But
don't like that they made him dress in drag right before he stopped doing this, though. It's a nice job, Vince. Nice.
Vince, yeah, he wants to demean you and demoralize you, before he lets you go. But in 1995, the Wayans brothers debuts on the WB with their episode Goop-Hair-It-Is. Sean's new hair care product makes a big impression during a live commercial.
A couple of heavy hitters in this episode too. Right on episode 1, they get 2 great cameos.
Yeah, man. And they have the cold opens on this show. They're fighting over the last slice of pizza until Marlon sneezes on it, and he asks him, "You want to split it?" And then they kick into that classic theme song. If you watch it on Max, the theme song, it's not the original one. Like it goes from that "We're brothers," and then it stops, and then like the original one would go to a Tribe Called Quest song, "Electric Relaxation."
And that wasn't how it was originally on the show.
On Max, like what you hear on Max is not the original.
Oh, I got you. I got you. And another time where they just keep changing shit. I don't like that.
And yeah, we started off with Lisa, who's always been fine. She's Marlon's girlfriend, and she's ordering 2 tubes of plum lipstick. $10 for lipstick that costs 40 cents. That's what Sean says. And he's like, man, I need to get in on this infomercial business. I want to sell something.
You don't even have a product. I like that mentality, though. All I need is an infomercial. You got to have a product, too, bud. It's 2 things.
Leela Rashawn, that's her name.
So they're discussing that and getting to business, honestly. They start making out. Then Marlon busts in, just in tears, Steve. He went out with his boys. They got in. Then he gets stopped by the bouncer, and he's not allowed in. Steve, why? Because the bouncer doesn't like his hair.
He had a jacked up cut. And so, like, Lisa starts laughing at him, and Marlon says, "At least my hair is real." And then that sets up a wildfire. You don't say that to a black woman. Yeah, that's no.
You're gonna get
asking
killed.
for it.
You gotta get
Or
killed.
cut.
Whores or something else. I forget what the other thing was. Marlon is taken back into the back by Sean. Lisa, she goes ahead and orders a couple of them lipsticks while the boys are out. I don't like that.
Sean's card.
That's theft, Lisa. That's dishonesty.
And now we're at the diner. We're introduced to Pops for the first time on the show. And, he's trying to talk Pops into this infomercial scheme. All he needs is $600, and I can get on public access. That same channel that shows some of them shows that you like. Oh, let me see.
That the one that he mentions too was a real show, I think, on the East Coast that showed like boobies on it in public access. I forget what it's called. A lot of people in New York mention it. I had a buddy that lived in Philly that used to, I forget what its name. It's the name of Robin Bird. That's what it was called.
I'm gonna have to keep that.
Yeah. So, but I just like he wants this info. It's an infomercial. He's paying $600 for an infomercial, pitching it to Pops. Still no product. And Pops really isn't feeling it. But then Marlon again comes in interrupting. But this time it's because this motherfucker comes in just looking like James Brown on his best day, silky smooth.
He got that Cat Williams special. And this time, yeah, he's telling the good news, man. You can't believe it. I got in the club. I was cashing checks, catching cabs. Shit, I feel like a white dude.
um, and you know, he's like, what is going on here? And they go into what Marlon invented. And he's like, look, man, this shit's so good. It even hooked my boys up. You go over to his boys. His one dude looks crazy as shit. Yeah, I love that.
He's got his arm around her.
But the hair is silky, Steve. It's like Soul Glow 3000.
Looking like two macaronis.
I love John Witherspoon, dude. Rest in peace. And this is like $1 million idea, Steve. This is a product. I don't know how they're going to replicate it because he just like Marlon made this product out of some shit he found under the cabinet. You know, they don't tell you what it is, but, you know, now they got to figure out a name. They're that far into it. Like they've already solved, they're on the hair shit. Now they're like, what's the name? Mane and tail
Hair.
already taken.
Hair. Balls. Hair. Rhea Tubman. Hair. Maphrodite. Somehow.
Who has the idea though? I forget who had it.
I believe it was Marlon.
Is that it? Okay, yeah. Well, he's the genius who created it. Why not?
He's my favorite of the Wayans. Goop-Hair-It-Is. Goop-Hair-It-Is. For the people who didn't like experience this portion of the decade, this totally was a thing. You know, you could just pop that out at a basketball game, football game, in mid-conversation. Whoop, there it is. Start doing the butterfly, the Tootsie Roll.
Hammer, dude. Hammer, 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 hammer. I mean, that's like one of the original jock jams, Steve. Whoop, there it is. Dude, fucking Hammer was fucking killing it back then. Anyway, Goop-Hair-It-Is. I'd buy it simply for the name. Get a good label on that, I'm in. Sorry, I couldn't even use it, but shit. I'll take it. I'll take one.
And so now they need a celebrity. They got the first part of the process done. Like, how can we sell this? We need a famous spokesperson to help pitch this product. And so they're back at the crib, and Marlon comes in with the guy with the bag over his head, pulls the bag off, and it's none other than Garrett Morris, the legend.
I thought that was Ben Vereen, Steve. No, but this dude kidnapped. First of all, how'd you know where Garrett Morris was? Secondly, kidnapped the dude. Third, when you hear how he did it, he slammed this bag on dude's head and just like drug him down the street by his feet. So, horrible. I mean, is no one gonna stop this guy? This is crazy.
I like how when he sees Lisa's fine ass, he was like, I don't do pornos anymore.
He's got integrity, Steve, because also when they're like, actually, dude, we want you to do this commercial because, you know, we need you. We need this. We need your cachet. And he's like, I don't do commercials. I have integrity. I'm Garrett Morris. Stan.
One of the original cast members.
Exactly. But does he leave?
Yeah, he leaves. And so actually they give him the boot.
Yeah.
Yeah, they boot him out of there. So they were like, do we go with the other person? If we have to, come on out. And it's none other than Gary Coleman. I thought that was Emmanuel Lewis.
Yeah, so who Lisa thought it was, and she almost gets her ass whooped by dude. He's like, man, fuck you.
He's sensitive.
That motherfucker stole my shit. But they just had Gary Coleman in the back, like I guess hanging out in the bedroom, you know, just in case Garrett said no. They're like, we got to keep somebody here. So he's
playing
smallest.
some video games.
Yeah.
And it's fucked up when they were like, so your parents are gonna get 90%, right? You know what? No, I cut them down to 85.
I mean, damn.
That's so.
Damn. He didn't look happy about that line, but he took all the shit. But Gary's in. I mean, in the 90s, early 90s, Steve, this is still a hot get. You know, I mean, maybe it wasn't working, but I know what you talk about, Willis. It's never going to die, you know?
It's just like, did I do that?
It predates. It walks. So did I do that can run, Steve?
Totally. And we're on set now, and everybody's got a perm. Even Gary Coleman. Sean's got his, Marlon's got his. They look like the Jackson 5 out there. And the other guy, the guy that plays the producer, he's one of those 90s. I know the face, but don't know the name. I like instantly recognize him as Dead Plumber from first season of Martin.
Yes. He was also on Frasier, I know that, but he was always this guy.
Yep.
Like just a scumbag, like worker of some kind, but he's great in it. And they're going over line reads. They're trying to get them to like adjust lighting, and the guy's like, "I'm gonna adjust the lighting." Again, yeah. He loses it when they ask for that. But they are under the impression, we paid for this. This is like TV. So like if you fuck the line up, it's all good. It's cool. We'll reshoot. But then the guy's like, "You paid $600. This is live, bud."
Let me do this again.
Oh, it's live, Hal.
Sorry.
There ain't no fucking reshoot. It's fucking Sid Vicious, Steve.
It's like Psycho Sid. Hell yeah, we're live, bud. And now the show starts, and so they go through their testimonials. They're showing all of these different scenarios of how it worked. And it's funny because Pops is the door guy, and he's wearing this like puffed up football jersey. You can't come in the club because of your funked up hair. And and Marlon comes through looking like Captain Pimp, and instantly he's lit in.
Captain Pimp. Yeah, dude. But the hair's luscious. I gotta say, Gary Coleman looks like goddamn. He looks like James Brown's mini-me, honestly. He looks fucking hilarious. Yeah. I do like the dramatizations. All of them are fucking hilarious. Sean looks fucking stupid as shit. But, they had to apply additional goop to their hair because of the lighting and whatnot. And as they're going through this infomercial and as they're getting to the sales pitch, Steve, $60 for a tub of this shit, right? Gary, trying to get him a little heads up, he's like, "Hey, guys, isn't there anything you can do for the audience here just today?" And they give that audience a discount, $59.99, Steve. They give him a cent. Get that cent off.
Slash that. Yeah. And man, this Goop-Hair-It-Is, it actually got him roles. Before he couldn't get a job. Now he's the star of his own motion picture, The Man with the Tiny Gun. Coleman. Gary Coleman.
I like he shoots the gun and the chick's off camera's like, "Ow, my ankle."
Yeah.
But they're doing this, and right as people are about to start paying the money up, Gary starts smoking like a damn pork butt, Steve. He's fucking, the shit's going bad. The light's making his hair go crazy. And they're trying to put it out like in a calm fashion, but still like make the sale. And it's not going to work out, Steve. Because Gary's like, "Does somebody smell bacon?" Or like, what is that?
Marlon, what did you put in Goop-Hair-It-Is? Vaseline, bacon fat, and Drano. Drano, it has lye in it.
So as they Gary's like, how dogs butt scooch? He's doing that with his face. He's trying to put this shit out, like stop, drop, and roll on his face. They get him out, like they smolder him, and then they start fucking going up, Sean and Marlon, and it's a whole thing, Steve. Goop-Hair-It-Is. It was a great dream, but it just wasn't meant to be, Steve.
There it was. And, now we're back at the diner, and both Sean and Marlon look like Kodak Whack. And I think Lisa says, "I thought you killed Gary Coleman." "No, I was just trying to put the fire out." "Yeah, but you didn't have to stomp on him."
And Pops comes in. He's out 600 bones, Steve. He put the money up for this. So he's like, "You got to get back to work."
Actually 540.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. I'm sorry. They did make a sale. It's like, who the hell bought this shit?
Garrett Morris comes in looking pissed. This is another funny thing. Obviously, that bat was like fake as hell.
Yeah, on fucking Marlins, it's all bunched up and shit.
Like the braids were so fake. It's just, like that stuff. I laugh at dumb things.
Yeah, but I mean, I love that. What a great first episode. What a stupid, hilarious first episode. And then also, we do get a after credits thing where Gary's accepting an award for Richard Pryor the day my crack pipe exploded. The biopic he just starred in. So,
So bad. I love it though.
oh yeah,
Oh man.
what a great show.
R.I.P. R.I.P. John Witherspoon and Gary Coleman. Yeah, it was great, bro. And
Damn, is Garrett Morris still alive, Steve? Garrett Morris is alive.
He's still with us, man.
Hell yes, Stan.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, all that scheming keeps you alive, Steve.
For some strange reason, I had sex with his wife. But also in 1995, Higher Learning premieres. It's directed by John Singleton, starring Jennifer Connelly, Ice Cube, Mike Tomlin, Omar Epps, Michael Rappaport, Christy Swanson, Lawrence Fishburne, Busta Rhymes, Regina King, Tyra Banks, Cole Hauser, and Adam Goldberg. Star-studded cast, man.
Yeah, intense, very intense. Michael Rappaport goes from nerdy college kid to white supremacist assassin in literally a few days in this movie. I mean, it goes crazy.
It's the same thing with Alfred Molina in his role in Not Without My Daughter. It's like it's so convincing and it pisses you off, but at the same time, from a artistic critique, dude, you did that well that like if I saw you, I would really want to like savagely beat you. Yeah. But it's not that what you're a character.
Cole Hauser too. The whole white supremacist gang is comically like insane. These aren't college kids. One of them is this huge jack guy who I think was honestly, this is a weird call out, but I think he was in Any Given Sunday, the football movie.
The program. He was probably in both. He was in the program. It's that guy.
He was, dude. You're right. He was in the program. But he gets beat up by a fat black dude in like this weird race war, like between the black and white dudes. And it's hilarious because he's the guy where it's like, he's going to kill everyone. He immediately gets socked in the face by fucking like just a fat nerdy dude. It was hilarious.
Who's not as ripped as he is, man. And like,
not at all. Cole Hauser's very good in this too. This whole movie is great. Lawrence Fishburne's great in it. But it's like super, like it's almost like not comically, but it's just like so dramatic. There's a lot of like slow motion shit. I mean, the Busta Rhymes in that fight I'm talking about, to initiate the fight, he like walks out and is just like starts like it's just strange. But it's a good movie. I'm not selling it well, but.
And these are like future like all-stars in their like early days of acting without, despite, Lawrence Fishburne being in there, he was already established. Ice Cube, he didn't have too many under his belt yet. Same thing with Busta Rhymes, Omar Epps, Tyra Banks. I believe this was her first movie. And this was the time.
I forgot about that.
Well, she was the one that was killed by Remy, by Michael Rappaport's character. And that infuriates Omar Epps to the point where he tracks him down and like the cops see him like beating up Remy and like they start attacking him. And like, I remember my mom took me, my friend and his older brother to see this on Martin Luther King Day in 6th grade. And when Michael Rappaport finally offs himself, I remember there being an ovation. Like people actually clapped when that happened. So with that said, man, Michael Rappaport, you did that role. It's not the best role, but
he's good at playing a racist. I'll tell you that. He really is. He can knock that shit out of him. Also in Bamboozled. I mean, the race, he's great, in all shapes and colors. He's great at doing a racist dude. So, but this movie, it's to me like, I don't know, of John Singleton's, there's a lot of, he has a nice catalog, rest in peace also, sadly, but I don't know. It is in his tone, but I feel like it's like the acting in it, and like the way it's like a dramatic, it's almost like stage acting, it's like over the top in a way.
Well, I found it comical that most of the white supremacists were played by Jewish guys.
Yeah. Yeah, hell yeah, dude. But I'm telling you, watch the fight, and when you see like this one white supremacist who is just this jacked, like fucking brick shithouse of a dude, he takes a punch to a guy who looks like me when I was in college, but black. Just a fat dude, just as you know, it might be the guy behind Steve. I don't think it is.
It is.
See,
I think it.
maybe it
I'm
is,
pretty
but the
sure.
guy looks
Yeah.
super nerdy, and it's just like, man, the ball. I guess it was adrenaline, but that's not the guy I would pick, even as the big dude in the group. I'd like veer towards Cole Hauser or somebody else, you know. But fuck it, he throws hands, Steve, and he beats the shit out of that dude twice because he throws him into a fucking. He kicks his ass into a soda machine too and knocks his ass out. The guy just gets brutalized. And rightfully so. But that's hilarious. You went and like that reaction in the theater because I think that's probably universal. It probably happened in every theater because he does play like he's not even the leader of the group. He's just a guy who gets brainwashed, but he goes so evil with it. It's fucking nuts.
He wanted to earn his stripes, man.
Raps, dude. Playing racist since the early 90s. It is what it is.
It is what it is, man. But also in 1995, not only did Wayans Brothers premiere on the WB premiered January 11th, 1995. It was a joint venture between Warner Brothers Television and Tribune Broadcasting. And Wayans Brothers, that was a part of their lineup, and as well as a show called Unhappily Ever After and a movie or a show called Muscle. That one I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember that. Unhappily Ever After was wasn't there like a really sexy like blonde chick in that, or am I thinking of a different thing?
It was a sexy redhead in that named Nikki Cox.
Nikki Cox. Okay, maybe I'm just not.
Yeah.
Maybe I got the hair color wrong, but yeah, Nikki Cox, who I think married Bobcat Goldthwait for a while, which was very cool.
Totally did
for him.
And I think they met on this show, if I'm not mistaken. It was created by the same guy who came up with Married with Children, as you would guess, Ron Leavitt. And that's the WB guys. They approached Ron Leavitt to say, hey, man, we're starting off this new channel. Can you come up with a show and have that be our staple, kind of like how you did with Married with Children and Fox? And Unhappily Ever After is what they came up with, man. It's kind of follows the same format as far as like, you know, the husband and wife can't stand each other. They're actually getting divorced in the first episode. Has a hot daughter played by Nikki Cox. The son, he's kind of like the Bud Bundy sex hound, but he's like short and, you know, can't get laid. But the spin on this, they have this like little cum doll, rag doll, and it talks, and the voice is Bobcat Goldthwait, and there's also a third son on this, like a little brother.
I remember the puppet. I don't know if I would have said cum doll, but you know, I get where you're going. It looks like a mop that talks in Bobcat Goldthwait's. It's maybe a dog or a rat. I don't know.
It's just been sitting in the attic. I'm sure it's got some stains if you put on a blue light.
I mean, somebody was busting on it, maybe Podcast. But I gotta say, if I'm going WB shows on the premiere, the Wayans brothers fucking kicked the hell out of this. It was way better.
Agreed, man. But in 1997, Duckman is airing season 4, episode 2, Coolio Runnings. When Duckman makes an expensive bet hinging on Ajax performing well during an athletic competition, he finds that he has no athletic skills and ends up adopting a fellow student in better physical shape, popular rapper Coolio.
I love this. What a weird thing. What a weird episode of television. But Duckman, we've covered it. It's weird. USA cartoon. Jason Alexander killing it. Who is the voice of Ajax, Steve?
That is Dweezil Zappa. That's Frank Zappa's son.
Okay. Yeah. Loser. He's kind of like the Family Guy. What's the son?
Chris?
Yeah, he's like Chris and Family Guy. He's just like the bumbling tubby kid. But we start this episode off in Duckman's office. I think Cornfed's there doing his actual job, Steve. Doing some detective work, you know, doing some shit. And he's actually trying to do the Duckman's taxes too, or somebody. Not corn-fed, but Duckman has like 2 secretaries that are like gummy bears. I don't know what the fuck they are.
Like little, yeah, stuffed doll teddy bears.
They're trying to do his taxes, and you got to keep receipts. He kept one, Steve, but they want to know if they need to fax it. And he's like, "Yeah, instead of that, let me fax you." And he faxes them in there. Fuck it.
Faxes them to the IRS office, who puts them through a shredder.
But I don't know if it's in the office, but we find out that Duckman's son Ajax is just unhappy that his dad's never around. He's always busy. What you think detecting, but no, he's jacking off, doing whatever Duckman does on a daily basis.
Being not so great at his job, pretty much. Bernice just throws the son in there, and Ajax says he needs his dad to attend the father-son games, but Duckman says, me and Cornfed, we have a special case that we need to wrap up, and Cornfed's just like, man, get your ass out of here.
I don't think so, Tim.
Yeah.
And then we cut to Duckman's, I think, because eventually Duckman's like, all right, fuck it, whatever. I'll give you an hour. Go back to his place, or Bernice's place, actually, whoever it is. I don't know whose it is. And Ben Stein's voicing the character of his neighbor, who I think his name is Ben Stein.
Dr. Ben Stein.
Yeah. And he has a son. I forget what the son's name is, but they're like they're like the Flanders, Steve. It's all beautiful. They're beautiful family. They're getting ready for these games, and they're like, they're just doing their thing. And Duckman basically just kind of gets in his feels, like jealous that they are like such a good family, and like initiates a fight where at the end of it, he's like, "Oh, you think you're gonna beat us in this game? Well, hell no, you're not." And he places a bet on it, and Mr. Stein's like, I'm just trying to do this with my son. Like, I'm not gonna. It's fine, whatever, dude.
He doesn't want any smoke, and he keeps just talking up the bet. All right, fine, $200. No, I don't know what you're trying to do. All right, 500. You know what? 550.
I love that, dude. This is such a weird fucking show. It really is. It's such a bizarre idea for a show.
And it's perfect for a Jason Alexander vehicle.
Yeah. Yeah, hell yeah. A neurotic scumbag detective. I love that.
I don't think any other person could have done it as well. But he finally asked Ajax, "Hey, son, do you have any athletic ability?" It's like, "Sometimes late at night, I smell my own intestines." "Is that an event?" "No, it's an exhibition."
Yeah, Ajax is really, somebody was smoking while while they were pregnant. But so, Duckman's not feeling it. He's got this bet, but it's like, I don't know. I might be got a losing horse in this race. I don't know. His fucking jeans are all fucked up.
It's a pud.
Cut to fucking school. Ajax is at school, sitting down. And who would sit next to the man but Coolio himself, Steve? And I love that Ajax just looks over. He's like, "You're a little old for this class. Are you stupid or something?" Very autistic. And Coolio, I love Coolio's energy too. He's like, no, I'm not stupid. Got a couple of platinum songs. I'm just here because, I never got my diploma. So I got a Billy Madison this shit. And I'm Coolio. So what's up?
And so we later find out that he doesn't have his diploma because he lost it. His family moved a lot. So that's why he's going back to school again. And by the way, when's recess? So they actually have recess in this high school. And he's like, "You got to cancel the concert tonight. I got homework."
He's really he's in it, Steve. He's in it to win it. And Ajax is there for him because he's been in this class for 3 years, so he can give him all the ups, all the downs. He's going to give him the lowdown, Steve. Just don't cheat off his test. Don't do that.
and him and Ajax, they're on the teeter totter, and there's this girl that's about to get hit by a truck, and Coolio hits the dash like Eddie George in this motherfucker, and he saves the little girl like right at the last second. And Duckman sees this, he's like, man, I wonder if he can run like that all the time in the gunny sack.
That three-legged race, that speed, those gams. So you see that as a normal person, you'd be like, man, that guy's fast. Duckman, he's got money riding on these games. So he goes straight from the school to what I assume is an adoption agency to just inquire what the logistics of adopting a full-grown adult are, who, to add a little like spice to it, his parents are still alive. So there might be a little technicality there, but he just wants to see how to adopt Coolio, basically, Steve.
He was willing to tweak that little technicality. They kick him out, and now he's crying on the curb. And Coolio sees this, starts talking to him, and then, he's like, hey, you're Ajax, dad. Man, you must be a good father, because Ajax seems like a good dude, man. He's like, well, you know what? The picnic game's 3 days away, and I have this son with motor skills of a mummy. The psychiatrist is always following me around, laughing. I can't. Hey, man. And he's trying to get sympathy points. And he gets them. Apparently, he talks Coolio into signing this waiver, because that was the thing. The lady at the adoption agency said, yeah, as long as you can get the person to sign this waiver, I guess you can do it.
Yeah, that's all it is. And he's like, when he's with Coolio, he's like, just like so much to be a dad and have this kid with special needs. And it's just like, if you would just sign this form, it would really help me out. And Coolio, he needs to worry about this. This might fuck him up in the future. Look at what you're signing. But he does sign the form, Steve. So technically, Duckman now has another kid who's a multi-platinum award-winning artist. So he takes him home. And, Bernice, always usually salty when they come in and she sees Coolio. She's like, oh my God, it's my favorite. It's my love. It's my life. Bernice just melts, Steve.
Yeah, she's even wearing a Coolio nightgown, and she jumps all over his bones. They're at the dinner table, and Dougman's scraping off everybody's plate and giving it to Coolio so he can have strength for tomorrow's training. And Ajax says, why would he need strength if we're the ones training? It's like,
shut up.
Yeah.
He doesn't even, but, Coolio might see that Duckman's a bad guy, but he can't really see anything because Bernice is basically just like in his face. Like, you could sleep in my bed, like if you want. There's a little spot there if you want. So he might get raped tonight, Steve. We don't know. There might be a duck raping that's about to happen, but he's a good guy. He's having some food with the ducks,
Duckman, not so much a great guy, because he finally comes clean and tells Ajax, you know what? I've decided to choose Coolio. I was going to lie to you, but I feel like that would ruin our friendship. So aren't you glad I told you the truth? No, I want to go to the father-son games. And Coolio sees this, and he's feeling a certain way. So he runs away from the Duckman home.
Gone, Steve. Duckman does what he does best. Blew the shit up. Ajax is pissed. He's gone. God knows where he's at. And then we cut to the next morning. That's how he escapes. Because he actually stays the night, Steve. He's the son. But when they wake up in the morning, Coolio pulled like an Alcatraz, put like a dummy in bed. So Duckman thought he was there. He's gone. He's back to the mansion, Steve.
It looked like a potato with like dreads, like some faux dreads, like rope coming out of them. And so Duckman, he does the unnecessary per usual, and he's trying to find all the possible places Coolio could be. So the fool looks into the mailbox, and then he checks in the trash can, and then Cordahead finally says, why don't we just go to Coolio's house? Oh, yeah, go to his mansion? Right, go to his mansion. Yeah, because he would be there. Yeah, and like we totally wouldn't have to do these things that would waste our time. Let's go to his mansion. Look, I guess we should ring on his doorbell. He's going to answer the door too. And he rings the doorbell at Coolio's mansion, and Coolio answers the door.
He's like, "Oh, hey, fellas, what's up? Having a little lunch."
Yeah.
And Duckman's like, "Hey, what's up, man? We're supposed to do this whole thing." He's like, "I can't do that, dude. I thought you were a good guy, but your son, he's a nice kid. You're a bad dad, though, and for that reason, I'm out."
Plus, Bernice is weird.
Yeah. She put a pill in my drink last night. I woke up, got a little freaked out. I'm out. So Coolio's out, Steve. Gangster Paradise, great song, but he will not be winning any awards at the school's father-son competition or whatever it is. So now it's back to, I guess, Ajax. So Duckman has to go with his tail between his legs, go back, and Ajax now, he's adopted his own child, Steve. Some sort of doll. That's his son.
Oh, yeah.
And he doesn't disappoint his son, Steve, because he's there. He's a good dad.
Got to be there. But he's trying to come around the corner, and he's saying, like, you know what? I failed you as a dad. He asks him if he still wants to do the father-son games, and eventually he agrees. And so the first event is the egg and spoon relay race. Ajax just eats the egg. The next one is the three-legged race. Duckman gets dragged by Ajax. And then now the wall climb. Ajax goes through the wall and just faints. And then finally the water balloon toss. And Ajax this time, he just throws the whole box of water balloons at Duckman.
The Steins, though, annihilating it. They're getting accolades. Duckman's fucking collecting himself after every loss, It's just right in his face.
Yeah, the Steins win every event.
And they're ecstatic. They're celebrating. He's got his kid on his shoulders. It's great. They get the gold or, whatever. But Ajax does win an award, Steve. They don't win like the full shebang. But what does Ajax win? Most improved player. And he's like, improved? We did awful. What? And the guy's like, yeah, but in the archery competition, you only shot 15 people. And last year you shot, 20 or whatever. So
26.
That's an improvement, isn't it, guys? And they're like, everyone's here for this fucking crazy kid. This poor kid.
And now a performance from Cujo.
Dude, but this music video we get at the end, I love this. It's just a solid Duckman Coolio collab, Steve.
And that song is actually on Gangsta's Paradise. It's called Ghetto Highlights. I believe it's like the first or second song on the album, man. In a way, I feel like this episode satires the participation award era that we've been dealing with for the past, 2 decades.
Yeah, a little bit. It also satirizes the school competition in general too, just because how stupid that shit is.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this, Coolio, if he goes into an elementary school competition like this back in the day, he's gonna kill it. They would have won.
Yeah. You saw how quick he got off that teeter-totter? But in 1999, Jon Stewart debuts as host of Comedy Central's The Daily Show, replacing Craig Kilborn, who moves on to CBS to succeed Tom Snyder on The Late Late Show.
And that show didn't last that long, but man, Daily Show, this became news. To us that didn't want to watch Tom Brokaw, this became the actual news, I think, for a lot of people. That might not be a great thing, but what a great show.
This was the beginning of an era, man, because, Jon Stewart hosting The Daily Show gave it its identity. Obviously, like we said, he wasn't the original host. I think most people would assume he was if you didn't, pay attention at the time, or if you weren't even alive then. People would assume it was him unless you check the wikis. But I think most people associate the show with Jon Stewart.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You have to. He was there for the longest, man.
I mean, I think we're old enough that we know who Craig Kilborn is. So, I remember that. And I remember the show when he was the host of it. And I think when you look at this, it's like clearly they took like the weekend update format of like shitting on current events and they made it like this is actually like a perfection of that, but they created like this genre of comedy where it's like news related comedy shows this really wasn't a thing like other than like the first 20 minutes of the late shows, the monologues where they're talking about it. It was like all that. And then they would have, I don't remember when they started having like Stephen Colbert and the other people in, but it just kept getting more famous because not only did they have Jon Stewart and he's great at this, but then they started involving like the Steve Carells, the Stephen Colberts, and they'd have like and they'd have these people on that were great and to like add to it and to play these like strange like caricature parts of like news anchors and stuff. It was a great show, man. It still is. I mean, I catch it every once in a while. It's just like, it's different now.
And I feel like it was an early staple of Comedy Central because at the time when the Daily Show started, they didn't really have much original content. South Park was one of the first, Dr. Katz, I believe, and Daily Show. And I think they were paired with South Park whenever they would air. Like South Park would air and then Daily Show.
Was it that way or yeah, I guess it was after South Park, wasn't it?
Yeah.
South Park led into it, but it became its own thing, man. It blew up. And I don't think it's not a small part of just Jon Stewart being so good at this. He's a great comedian in general, but I mean, he was meant to do this,
For sure. I mean, to the point where he became a host of SNL solely because of this. I think it was that big of a deal. People were tuning in, during the Bush administration, the Clintons and all of that, a lot of the stuff. And they would always have their funny takes on it, man. Just great writing, a brilliant show, man. And I'm not faithful. I'm not even going front like I watched more than I haven't. But, it still stands the test of time. And I think it's hosted by Marlon now. Speaking of the devil.
I think they're doing like rotating hosts because I think Charlemagne does it a lot too.
Okay.
I've seen him do it a lot, but yeah, it's cool what they're doing. But back in the day, especially when this was first becoming its thing, and it got like to that prolific, where it was almost like carrying Comedy Central for a while, or like one of its flagships.
Yeah.
It made this different thing because like news used to just be the serious thing where you couldn't like joke about it. It was just tell the news and this and that and the other. But like this sort of created this thing where I do think it replaced the actual news for a lot of people, good or bad, like especially related to like politics. I think we needed that, like these people were like these people need to be made fun of, and this was a great way to do that. All the stupid shit politicians do. I think like we didn't have a show that brought light to that as much. And I guess, I don't know if this was the first of its kind, but it definitely was like the perfection of it.
Now, do you have any callbacks, honorable mentions, or takeaways, sir?
Callbacks, honorable mentions, or takeaways. Well, I do want to just, we were talking about Jean-Claude and Street Fighter, Steve, and now that we've discussed it, I just want to, I guess this isn't a callback other than I want to see where that movie falls in the lore of video game movies to you. Is it the worst? Is it the best? Where is it in like the Mortal Kombats, those 90s video game movies? It's not the worst because I'd say Mario Brothers might be the worst.
The original Mario Brothers, yeah. I would say Street Fighter's mid because it wasn't terrible, and we can't sleep on Raul Julia's role. So I think in Bison, man. So you have that as well as just Jean-Claude's presence in the early '90s. In the early '90s movie, it's going to do something.
Dude, he's gonna do that split kick. He'd always do that spinning split kick and stuff. He had like, I like Jean-Claude because he had like some signature moves. He'd do a split. He'd do a crazy, like, he'd do like the slow kicks and stuff. He had it was like a wrestler in that way, he had a couple of moves you wanted to see before the end of the movie. And speaking on Street Fighter, he's who else is going to do the Guile flip kick thing? You know, who I think maybe he got cast because he was the only person that could do that shit. So shout out, dude. Just I love me some Jean-Claude, and I'm glad that you picked that movie to discuss because that's when you want to tune into Jean-Claude. That early '90s where they synthesized it, they synthesized it to perfection, Steve. It was crack at that point.
JCVD.
What about you, man?
Got a couple things to run down, man. In 1990, Cosby Show airs Cliff's Nightmare, and that was the one where they had like a Muppet infusion, if you will. They had some of the characters involved, and basically Cliff eats a meatball sandwich before he goes to bed, and most of the episode is about his bad dream. He has this weird dream where these Muppets come about, and he's actually like sitting up there in the rafters critiquing the other Muppets with Waldorf and Statler. And the one that's voiced by Jim Henson, Cliff replaced that one because Jim Henson couldn't be present for this episode, but his partner, his longtime partner was there. But I just remember, you know, I was a Cosby Show fan and obviously a Muppets fan. But in 1992, Nirvana's Nevermind album goes #1 in the U.S. And that, to me, was the beginning of an era. Bye-bye to the hair metal and the tight latex and all of that. The grunge era is here upon us in 92. And on that same day, January 11th, Nirvana's actually on SNL with special host Rob Morrow. Dope performance. They did Smells Like Teen Spirit, of course, and I think it was after that song or the other one where they just trashed the set with Rockstar style. You know, our album's #1. It just started today. We're on SNL. I'm Kurt. I'm that dude. But in 97, SNL has musical guest Beck. He fucking kills it. I got 2 turntables and a microphone. Where is that? I love that shit. And the host that time is Kevin Spacey. But dude, you know, separate. It's kind of like the Chris Benoit thing. Dude was a great wrestler. Kevin Spacey, outside of the fuck shit, whatever, amazing performer. And this episode is goated. There wasn't a bad skit, man. It had the mangoes, and I was never not mango, but the one where Chris Kattan's the monkey.
Oh yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Peepers.
Yeah, yeah.
It's got that one, and this one is tolerable. They do the Star Wars auditions, and Kevin Spacey, he's like Walter Matthau, he's Jack Lemmon, and you know the other people were doing. I think Anna Gasteyer, she's Barbara Streisand. I think they do a Celebrity Jeopardy. Just that episode is goated. Beck and Kevin Spacey. 1998, Jamie Foxx shows airing Soulmate to Cellmate, and that's got Tashina Arnold in it, just looking fine.
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
And just one more thing. The Simpsons also in 98, they're airing Bart Carney, and that has special guest Jim Varney, and they're basically playing some traveling carnies, and like Jim Varney's character has some one-liners that are just fucking good. But yeah, that's all I got, man. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please tell your sister who's her favorite new kid. Call me Donnie. Call me Joey. Please check out our buddy Councilman Clark the Shark on YouTube, Food Show Fanatics, as well as Crushgasm, our sister and brother shows. This is Steve G and Mad G with Happened in the 90s.
Let me do this again.
Oh, it's live, pal.
Sorry.